Hey folks, welcome back to Jaws on Sports, your March Madness Central, and you got Mike and Zach with you tonight. And while I'm not going to pretend to say that I did great for the first two rounds with any of my 21 brackets, we are here to break down the Sweet 16. We can't wait to do it for you. Zach, how's it going? I heard you had a great dinner last night. Where'd you go?
The Burger King.
I never heard of it, man. Can you tell us what you got at Burger King?
Sounds good, man. More people don't go, but hey, my hair is good, so I'm gonna just. It's making me look. I got a Potter thing on my head. I don't like that, so I need a hat.
That's good.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't got a lot of time, so let's just roll here.
Hey, we're rolling with it. Sweet 16, here we go. Game start tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on my end, but
Well, beat Texas? Hell
Texas.
yeah, I can see that. That's just your
Hey,
point
man,
too, right?
yeah. Um, they play Purdue. Purdue's pretty good. They're pretty boring. Remember my teacher? We call him Coach Mike because he's the basketball coach. He hates Big Ten basketball, and I understand why. It's so clunky and it's like a football game, you know. But Purdue's been pretty good. That's an interesting matchup, though. I don't think there's been very many upsets besides the Iowa game and High Point. So, um,
Yeah, it was all about High Point for 24 hours or so, you know.
yeah, they were fun to watch. But for whatever reason, the last year and half of this tournament hasn't been very chaotic. So
I
I think
think that,
Purdue, their experience will take over. I think they win.
yeah, I think Purdue's going to win this game. I've been reading a little bit about Texas. I mean, they probably shouldn't have been in the tournament. Yeah, I think they were 18 and 14, but they got in and to respect. They won a play-in game and they won the first round. What they do, they shoot a ton of free throws. So they're going to have to get Purdue guys into to foul trouble to have a chance. But Purdue's got too much experience, and I think that the Purdue Boilermakers will win by maybe 8 or 10 and jump into the Elite Eight.
Yeah. What I think is interesting that you brought up, though, is I don't think college players are very well coached. I don't think they get coached um, if they're at one of those high NIL collective schools. Because if you're mean to them in practice, then they'll just leave. But like you said, they get to the line a lot. I've noticed in the tournament, teams can't defend inside the paint. They either let you get the layup or the little pop shot or pull up jumper, or they foul you. They
Yeah.
don't have any shot blocking capability. They don't make you kick the ball out. If you just go up for a layup or a tough shot in the paint, you're either going to make it, it's just going to clink out, and it happens, or you're going to get fouled. It's not really up to the defense. So I think in the last couple of rounds, teams need to really push it to the paint. You see teams get down by double digits and they start shot chucking, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work, especially in college. In the NBA, you have elite shooters. In college, it's not like that, man. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot. You kind of mentioned there really hadn't been anything the way of an upset. It's hard to say Texas is a Cinderella because yeah, I mean the Texas Longhorns just as a collective athletic entity have the largest athletic budget of any Division One program out there. There's nothing Cinderella about them. Um, I do think that there is something with the fact that we haven't had a whole lot of chaos, and I think that, like we've talked about before, the NIL has changed things so much. If you were a good player at, I'm making up a team, Richmond, um, somebody else is going to offer you more money, and you're going to leave them. So we don't have like a good example some years back was Butler. A whole bunch of fifth year seniors out there. Were good. not great basketball players, but good, and just in a game, they're very good. We're not really seeing that.
Yeah, and that kind of does move us into the next game here,
Yeah.
Iowa, Nebraska, and I think they call it the Battle of the Legends or something like that, something corny. Um,
Legends division, yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's funny though. It's the white guys that play basketball
Yeah.
because the style of basketball has changed over my lifetime, even. And these two teams, they play like when I was little. You know, they got the big fellas and they like to dish it down low. And at the same time, they sprinkle in some of that 35-foot 3-pointer shots, in there. Um, I don't really like either of these teams in this tournament. I think that they kind of accidentally got to where they are. I'm not
Mm.
discrediting Iowa for beating Florida. That was a great win for them. But like I said, man, Big Ten basketball is just it's hard to watch. And I'm kind of happy for Nebraska. They've never had any success in basketball, but I don't like Nebraska. Um, that doesn't mean I won't pick them though. I've learned every time I pick against someone because I don't like them, they normally win. So I think they're gonna win. I think for Nebraska, it's a Cinderella for them because they've never won. This was their first two wins ever in the
Yeah,
tournament.
yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, it's true. I couldn't believe that stat. But then I went back and I thought about it. All those years, following the Big Eight, following the Big 12, every other team in that conference was good at some point. Nebraska never was. They never sent anybody to the NBA. They probably did, but I don't remember them ever sending anybody to the NBA. They didn't do damage in the conference tournaments. They were not a threat. Yeah, they were like Kansas State to football in the 80s. When you played Nebraska basketball, you were going to beat them and probably beat them handily, and that's just, how it was. Um, I think Nebraska started the year like something like 20 and 0 or something insane, and they kind of fell off. But um, so contrast the styles here. Nebraska likes to go up tempo. Iowa, as they always do in football and hoops, like to slow it way down. And something's got to give here. I guess I was reading about earlier, they split the season series. Um, I just think that Iowa's, even though they're the uh, higher seeded team, they are probably a little bit better at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see that one. I don't think whoever wins that is gonna move on in the
I
whole
don't
year.
think so. Yeah.
Um, I think tempo is a good argument from you there. And Arkansas and Arizona, like that's a tempo game. Those guys are gonna want to play at their pace, and it's a lot more um, up tempo, I'd say, compared to Iowa. They like to. They don't just shot chuck though. They get inside the arc and they take those mid range shots.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Plenty of
um,
news out there.
I'm not gonna ride on Arizona because they always blow it in the tournament, and you know that you pick them every year for some reason in some of your brackets. Um, Arkansas, they've been tested, SEC champ. SEC was down this year, but they're a really good team. That guy Darius Acuff.
Darius Acuff Jr. That guy is a freaking beast, man. He is absolutely the real deal awesome. He's going to be a top five pick in the draft. Should probably be number one because he's ready to play in the NBA right now.
Talk about a
Yeah.
3-level scorer right there. And then
Yeah.
me and my buddy Hayden, OU had
Yeah.
the tough game against Arkansas in the tournament, and
Mm.
it was that albino dude. That guy's a dog. I don't even know his name, but
Yeah.
he's a
There's
stud too.
a few of those guys out there.
They're real deep out there, and yeah, that's a fun team to watch. And I can't really rely on Arizona, man. So I think Arkansas gets it done.
Yeah, in the last probably since the year 2000, Arizona has screwed me in my brackets at least 15 times, if not more. I don't know why I keep going back to them. Um, I've got no tie whatsoever to Arizona, although on paper, they're probably the best overall team this year. And I did pick them to win the whole thing on exactly one of my 21 brackets. I'll probably come back to eat my words. But this game, I'm looking forward to this game more than any other uh, Sweet 16 game because it should be really fun. Yeah, Arizona's got tons of talent, tons of depth. They're killer on the offensive glass. But Arkansas, they just keep winning. And this Acuff guy, he kind of gives off like the Kimba Walker NCAA tournament vibes. Okay, for our folks who know what I'm talking about. You're riding a hot guard through the conference tournament all the way through the finals. I don't. We'll have to, we'll have to see how it goes. I would love to see Arkansas win this game. I would. Um, I'm taking the Wildcats, so
No, it's a good pick. They're a great team. They had a great year. They're gonna burn eventually, though. They're Arizona.
yeah, they'll
Um,
burn. I think they'll burn in the next round, but
Illinois and Houston. So Illinois has adopted the NBA model. They're going for those Eastern European guys. And
mm,
I had to look his name up because he needs his justice here. It's Merkovic or Merkovic, however you
that
say
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And they have a couple of those big, tall Serbian, Belarusian dudes that are superstars, and they're super
Mm,
big. Um, and like we said with the A cuff, they can score at all three levels, but they're
yeah,
6'8".
yeah.
Uh, but on the flip side, you got to play Kelvin Sampson in Houston. They're playing at the Rockets
Yeah, no, it's
um,
crazy. Yeah.
arena,
Mhm.
and he was talking about how they've had to go up to certain cities and play teams that are from close by, and they beat them. And I
Mm,
I like that. What would you call it?
yeah,
Awareness
yeah.
of Samson, because he knows this isn't a home game. It's a tournament game. We just got to go out there and play our style. We got to win. Doesn't matter if there's all red or all orange in the crowd. We got to go and put the ball in the hoop. And I appreciate that. He's
Mm,
brutally honest, and he doesn't do the whole coach speak thing. Like, we can't wait to see all the fans. No, he doesn't care. He just wants to win. Uh,
yeah.
and Houston, they know how to win. They have the experience. They made it all the way last year, and some of those guys came back. So they know how to win. They know what it takes and the margins to get there. And it's hard to pick against them until the last couple rounds there in the Elite Eight and Final Four.
Yeah, Houston, they have a habit of making you play their game. They're elite defensively. They always are. Ever since Sampson got there, and everywhere that Calvin Sampson's been, go back to Indiana, even when he was Oklahoma Sooner coach, they were elite defensively. They've got players. They got the superstar point guard, freshman. I can't think of his name. Um, Illinois, they their chance is if they happen to shoot 50% from three. I think this is a clear Houston like 68 to 62 win in a game that was never really close. But Illinois has got the dudes. They're perfectly capable of hitting 23s out there. You don't see that often in college. They're not as reliant on the three. But Illinois, if they can hit a bunch, that's their shot. But I'm going with the Cougars all the way.
So on the flip side here, this will be the Friday's game. So the Johnnies and the Devils.
Go
And
Giants.
Patino, he's done an awesome job. And I love that he coaches his players. I really do. Because, like I brought up just a couple minutes ago, a lot of these guys, they're so sensitive now. And you
Mm.
say something wrong or you don't give them enough minutes, they just hop on a plane, they go somewhere else, get paid money to play elsewhere. St. John's has been awesome. They had the real big letdown last year early in the tournament. I think they lost in the first or second round. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's second round last year.
Yeah, and they've been awesome this year. The Big East is brutal. That's some of my favorite basketball. Like I was telling you, I've watched probably 5 games this year. I think
Mm.
3 of them before the tournament. 3 of them were Big East games, just on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I like watching them play. They dig in. They don't get too high, too low. They do a really good job regulating emotions, and especially in March Madness, it's crazy out there. These guys are shoving each other, punches are being thrown. It's emotional, and I
Hmm.
think Patino does a great job. On the flip side, Duke, it's a bunch of NBA guys, but we've seen this. The one and done teams, they don't mesh as well. Um, they have that kind of in the back of their head. Hey, we lose today, we're gonna go get paid $20 million in the NBA next year. So um, with that, I'm actually gonna take Duke. I know I was building up St. John's like that. I like St. John's. Um, I think they're all around a better team, but sometimes the 5 stars they come out the show, and I think Duke's gonna get it done. I don't want them to, but
Yeah, every year when I start the big dance brackets, I throw my analyst hat on with years and years of experience and just all that data up here bouncing around. And I try to beat Duke. I try to beat North Carolina. I try to think that don't take Arizona out on a date. They're gonna screw me. Okay, I know it's gonna happen. Um, and then some years I lately I try to beat Connecticut. It's hard to do. Um, Something bothers me about Duke. Now, when you get to this level, okay, you got to win 6 games to be the champion, and weird, crazy stuff can happen. Sometimes that margin is real fine between winning and losing. After the first game in round one, they were talking to some of the players after the game, and one of the guards, I don't remember which one, was saying that we didn't think they were going to be that good to Siena. And I'm thinking that's a problem. When one of your starters is saying that on TV right after the game, not just because of the optics, but because of what's going on behind the scenes with that team. Maybe they're not firing on all cylinders. They've been winning with overwhelming talent, which Duke tends to do a lot. I think that they beat St. John's. I think this game will probably be closer than it should be. I'd love to see St. John's win, though.
I really like some of these points you've been bringing up, and a lot of the time in college basketball, it's like a hierarchy thing. I think we talked about this last year,
Hmm.
but especially when Coach Calipari was at Kentucky, they'd lose a game and he'd be talking about, oh, that guy, he's shorter than all of our guys, and like that guy scored 30 points. It doesn't matter how tall he is, and a lot of the time in college basketball, it's even crazy in the tournament. These teams trot out there, the Carolina Blue or the Navy Blue at Kansas. It
Hmm.
seems like every good college team is in blue. Uh,
Yeah,
but they trot out there and they're like, all right, just lay down for us. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that mentality is going to get them bit. I don't think Duke's going to win a championship, but
No,
um,
we'll figure
on
that out
to,
next week.
yeah, on to a great football game here, Michigan and
Hmm.
Alabama. Um, Again, I'm not a big time Big Ten fan, but Michigan's been great, man. They've got some dudes. They're well coached. I like Alabama though. I think Nate Oates. I think he's a bonehead, but he's a good coach. And they have pumped out consistent NBA talent, superstar performances on the big stages. And
Hmm.
I don't know, something about these two uniforms coming together. It's going to be one of those mixtapes we look back on. Some dude on Bama is going to put up 28, and he's going to cook Michigan, and the Tide are going to roll.
I'd love to see the Tide win this game. Michigan trying to beat them. They've got a massive front line out there, two 6'10" guys and one guy is 7'3". And it's not just they're tall, they're really good. They can move, they play off the ball defense really well. Their front court's going to dominate there and on the glass, but Alabama, they even though they're one of who was that their star player got busted for having like 2 pounds of weed.
Yeah.
Those guys are fun to watch, and they're gonna put up basket after shot after shot after shot, and I like to see them win. I do think that Michigan wears them down. Um, Michigan, I think, overall is going to be hard to keep out of the title game, but I get Michigan in that game.
And, the other team in Michigan's in there too. So, Michigan State, I think you brought up a good point there, wearing teams down.
Yeah.
And like I said, Big Ten basketball, man, it's slow, it's rough, but over 40 minutes, that can get you pretty tired. And we see this with college teams all the time. At the end of games, you'll look down at the scoreboard, it'll pop up 6 minutes, 47 seconds without a basket, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And these teams that don't have the conditioning, they can't score at the end of the game. It's the craziest thing to watch. So I don't think UConn will have that problem. Dan Hurley's going to have his guys ready to go. This is going to be a battle, though. This is going to be one of those back and forth trading buckets kind of games, diving for loose balls. I think Michigan State has some trouble at times, um, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with Michigan State. I think UConn is a great team. They got a bunch of superstars. They might be a year away. Discipline wise, with Michigan State, that's where I worry. But
Hmm.
I think if Izzo can have his guys ready to go, they can do some work.
Yeah, probably two of the best coaches in college basketball, Tom Izzo and Dan Hurley out there. This is not, make no mistake, this is not like UConn teams are on the level of their recent back-to-back champions. They're still really good. They've got, they probably go 10 deep. Like you said, they're not going to get tired. I'm rolling with the Spartans, man. Rolling with the Spartans. I like them. They knock down a lot of threes and they shoot it well. I think they're going to do that.
Well, it's interesting with the single game elimination because you can have a bad shooting day. And, let's say UConn goes out there and they're 8 for 37 from three and they lose by 4 points.
Oh,
So, uh, like we were talking about, the margins are just so small and they're so important. A missed layup, 6 minutes into the second half, you don't think about it too much at the time, or you go up for a big dunk, you try to yam it and it hits the back iron, goes flying into the crowd. That stuff matters, man.
yeah.
And as we get closer to the championship games, little things like free throws, the possession arrow, that stuff's going to matter. So I think that's one of those games that every single possession, every drive to the hoop, every contested shot or uncontested shot, you got to knock those down, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see. We just got a few more minutes left here. We got the last game Friday is Iowa State number two seed and Tennessee number six. I'm not sold on either one of these teams. Respect to them for getting to the Sweet 16. Iowa State shoots a lot of threes. They play good. They play really good defense. I'll give them that. They beat the crap out of Kentucky. I know Kentucky, this Kentucky team, the last couple of years has not been vintage Kentucky, but they're still freaking Kentucky. They probably still got five guys that played that'll play significant time in the NBA. But I like Tennessee. Tennessee's got that great shooter that Mama Mo Sikalili or some crazy. I can't pronounce his name. You can't pronounce ours either. But um, actually, wait a minute. That's I got that wrong. That's the dude. He's on Iowa State.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. But I'll just shut up and let you finish here. How about that?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I haven't watched too many games, so I was kind of interested to see your point of view. Um, I am very underprepared for this show, but I'm kind of spitballing out here.
Well, it kind of makes me look bad because I had a lot of time on my hands to, unlike you, to try to figure this out,
Nah, it's all good,
and
man.
I still suck.
It's the charm of the small show like this.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
um,
our audience loves us regardless of what BS comes out of my mouth. So,
yeah.
so
Um,
in the last minute here, I mean, maybe we'll get to do another show before the Final Four. Maybe we won't, depending on your schedule. But I do think that it's going to be hard to keep Michigan out of there. Um, if chalk happens, you'd have Michigan and Arizona um, in the Final Four. You know, the other side is crazy. I think that Houston's going to make it. Going to try. You need somebody to beat Duke. Okay. Um, if St. John's can't do it, I think that Michigan State or UConn could give them a hell of a run.
Yeah, and you also never know, man. You might be so dead set on Michigan, and the Tide are gonna come in and give them that work. You just never know.
I'd love to see the Tide do it. I really would. I think that'd be awesome.
I think at this point, I would like to see Iowa State make a little run here because I don't think they've ever really had crazy success. So they've been very consistent the last couple of years, just haven't gotten over that hump. So maybe this is the year.
Yeah, for the old heads out there, back in the 80s, Iowa State had this guy named Jeff Grayer, and he was a one-man wrecking crew in the old Big Eight with Iowa State when they played great teams like Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri back in those days. Kansas State with Mitch Richmond, Kansas with Danny Manning. Oklahoma had all kinds of pros. Jeff Grayer was a killer at like 6'2" out there against all the trees, but I hope they do well. But hey, folks, we got to wrap it up. Thanks for joining in. I know that Zach's got another fabulous restaurant to review after the show ends. Thanks for tuning in to Gels on Sports. We'll see you next time. Boomer Sooner, go Thunder. We'll see you.